Hi, welcome to the Expanding Entrepreneur Podcast, where we support entrepreneurs and small teams expand their reach, their impact, and their profits to six figures and beyond, all while enjoying their lives. I'm your host, Lisi Kempton, founder of SoulTree Operations. We're a business growth agency in Boulder, Colorado, and we've been guiding entrepreneurs and small teams to scalable, sustainable success for almost 20 years. Our guest today is Heather Gonzales. She's a brand strategist with over 20 years of experience. But before I introduce her, I want to make sure you all understand how the Get Vocal platform works. Many of you will be probably viewing this live on either YouTube or Facebook, which is fine. But if you want to interact with Heather and ask her questions, then you'll need to head on over to the Get Vocal platform. And I believe you have to do it on your phone. I need to know this, but it's an app on your phone. You need to sign up for a free account. I think you can do it on your computer too. So try either one, and then you can actually interact with us and ask Heather questions after the interview. So let me go ahead and interview Heather before I invite her to join us here. Okay, Heather Gonzales is the founder of Brandville, offering creative, sustainable brand solutions. She utilizes her more than 20 years of design, brand strategy, and identity experience to help clients develop smart, sustainable branding and product design. She found that after years of working in the consumer goods package design industry for cosmetics, perfumes, personal care, food, and cannabis, clients kept asking for more sustainable options. Many of her packaging vendors in glass, paper, board, metals, closures, tubes, bottles, and finishes are making the switch to offering more sustainable options and are on the same eco-conscious journey. Welcome to the show, Heather. Why don't you go ahead and join us, grab a spot here on Get Vocal.
Hi there.
Hey, hi, Heather. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I've got some questions for you. Here. Yeah, I can see you. That's good. Good lighting on a snowy Colorado day. We'll warn people that if your kids come screaming through the background, it's because school was canceled today. So heads up, there are kids around. Okay, let's start with your story. There's always a story behind every entrepreneur's business, and I'd love to hear about your story and how Brandville came to be.
Sure. So a little bit about me. I'm a lifelong creative. I went to art school, and then I was always interested in business. I come from a family of parents who had multiple careers, really long traditional careers, but towards, inching towards retirement age, became entrepreneurs themselves. And I have had quite the journey with graphic design. When I was younger, in my 20s, I did a lot of investigation into different types of designing for school books, for smaller design agencies and advertising agencies and finance firms, until I landed across more package design roles. And what I found is, how cool it was to create something that people lived with. Like if you had a small perfume that lives in your purse, and I had done the logo and worked with an industrial designer to design the glass shape, all these little touch points, very tangible things, but also very conceptual ideas for brands. If you think of like perfume brands, even segments of perfumes. And that is something that people identify with, is their brand that they want to bring into their lives. So as soon as I started getting into those roles, I was hooked. I just love that you could create products that really resonated with consumers.
Yeah.
And I can go deeper because I think after having a career and a life, things change, right?
Yeah, right.
Having kids, having family, If you're used to working long hours, sometimes that's not sustainable. And that's what I found. And since my good friend's husband was a great editor and he approved the name Brandville, I just kind of ran with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been the name that I've been freelancing under. And also taking on a big business impression, I would say, and just embracing a bigger opportunity to serve people in a way that one is the conceptual brand strategy piece leading up into the visual presence of the brand and how it shows up across all media and all touch points. And that could not be a packaged item that you see in the store or you can order online, but maybe it's you know, a system or a software or a product or your own services that you're branding.
Well, that kind of leads to my next question. That's a good segue. So the next question is, so who is your ideal target or your ideal client, and what services do you offer them?
Yes. So I would say, because of, you know, the role I'm in right now, I meet a lot of women entrepreneurs, but entrepreneurs of all walks of life, you know, through everyone I know in the community. But my ideal client is someone who's really hungry to launch their brand. They really want to get it out there. They feel like this idea is burning inside of them and it just needs to live out in the world. And I think a lot of people, when they've been doing things a long time or having a career, maybe they want to shift, you realize it's a calling. It's a very like spiritual connection that you have. And you see that how people are benefiting from your experience in work and serving other people. So I think that passion really makes it exciting for me. And I'm just really interested in helping them first explore, stake out the territory, and ultimately that discovery of the brand that they feel really confident about.
Yeah. So that's a really good question. You touched on it a bit. Do you work with entrepreneurs at all stages of growth then, and kind of larger size companies too?
Yeah, I do. And I think I intentionally did that throughout my career, was to make sure that, as well as proving myself to work for larger companies, I worked for Avon Cosmetics, Unilever European Fragrances, John Frieda Hair Care, and Jergens, Biore. It was far-reaching, and their methods were the same as if you were going to white label or work at a small contract manufacturer and develop a product or pitch a product. So that gave me a lot of comfort level saying, hey, we've had this brand for years. We want to restage it. We found this other opportunity that we want to lean it towards. How can we change the graphics to reflect that? But I'm also very comfortable saying, okay, this is brand new. Can we stake out this territory? There's certain methods that I found both in larger companies and smaller, even a one person, you're starting solo. And that's kind of like the most exciting because you can make anything out of it.
Yeah.
But I feel like I can give people a framework to guide them to progress, like get them to be seen, be able to use their logo across all media, sometimes packaging, sometimes not.
Yeah.
But in any case, it's that same kind of journey and exploration. And I do it in a way where I'm thinking about them, like, where are they going to be in 5 years from now? They're starting their business today, and it's perhaps brand new for the solopreneur, but can they go back to the work we've done and say, hey, let's just shift this a little bit so they don't have to reinvent the wheel?
Yeah. Well, so then how do you identify what they need if they're at different stages of growth? And is there kind of like a standard set of things that these customers come to you for that you're able to offer, like the components of a brand strategy? Like, can you maybe walk us through what the components are, or what, I guess how I initially staged it was, is there a certain set of things, like kind of a menu that they can choose from when they come and work with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just starts with initial conversation or a phone call or a Zoom meeting or Google Hangout meeting where we say, you know, what you want to do, you know, and then there's some key questions that I can ask that kind of run the gamut of brand strategy to determine where they need to go. I think any designer kind of starts out with this idea of a creative brief where they know they need to be seen, but have we done like the preliminary strategic work to make sure that this brand is going to fall in line with the attributes that you need. So for instance, there's about 4 critical steps in a brand strategy session. So if you do deep dive, you can expect to really think conceptually and get into a couple meetings with whoever your brand strategy person is. So you would look at a pyramid to prioritize your brand's attributes. You would come up with personas for your brand's target, like what is your brand, who is your brand speaking to, down to the car they drive or, the haircut they have. You really want to paint that picture so you can really market to them and sell to them and really connect. And then you want to uncover through this kind of discussion and discovery in brand strategy of the unique offerings that you have. Anything that can set you apart through those conversations, and they organically really happen through the brand strategy conversations, is where you can kind of stake out your territory and how you can kind of craft how you tell your story to people.
Yeah.
And then towards the end is when you really boil down to the core vision and the promise, the persona, the insights. And there's always a little bit about that entrepreneur in part of this.
Yeah.
I can say that with confidence, from contract manufacturer to my friend down the street's natural organic perfume line that's really custom, to global cosmetic brands in different regions of the world. That it's really important that there's something about the owner of the business and the personality that's taking this initiative that's going to play into it. Whether it's a sense of humor or a take on life, it's really important to have that connection, to know that you're building from somewhere, and it gives a lot of connection to your customer as well to identify with.
Right. Oh, it sounds like you run the gamut then. From, it could be as simple as just a logo, maybe logo on a business card for a solopreneur who's just getting started, all the way up to a complex brand strategy with even packaging maybe. That covers story.
Yeah, in essence, it's about how you are seen, how you want to show up for your customers. And that's what the visual language can do in terms of graphic design. So in terms of shapes that evoke emotion, to, the shapes that are in typography and fonts, you want to have that worked on by somebody that has experience thoughtfully going through it, and also somebody that can do it efficiently, somebody that's not going to spin and waste time and tell you exactly when you can expect things. So I think for me, that's been something I've been very confident about, is scheduling and making sure that we can all get together for those critical conceptual pieces, and then turning that light switch on and off so that we can meet the deadlines and see the vision for that aligns with the entrepreneur.
Nice.
Whether it's a business card or just like a style guide, 1-pager, to something that's really more well thought out. I mean, you could have a company and you've got a million ideas for brands that you could launch every quarter or like twice a year.
Yeah.
You can start at that higher level, and you can start with that umbrella brand, and then depending on trends, because the world's always changing, business is always evolving, you want to have that flexibility in your brand. It's good to have somebody in brand strategy that has the foresight of and vision to tell you, like, you could go here, look at this in 5 years and see, let's talk, let's talk in a year, let's talk in 6 months, how are things going with you, and evolve it from there.
Well, and I've noticed with my clients too, and tell me if you think this is the same for yours, is as an expanding entrepreneur, going from solopreneur to then expanding to maybe, virtual assistant, and then beyond that to 7 figures in a larger team, you do have to revisit your brand and your image and how you're wanting to represent yourself to your clients, because that can change. Is that your experience as well? That your image can change from when you're a solopreneur to an expanding entrepreneur with a team?
Yeah, I mean, the perfect example, one example would be in the cannabis space. If somebody started out with medical and they might have very conservative graphics, but where they're doing business, adult uses come into play, then they can market that more. Can they add more, say, illustration assets or something that kind of tells their story that they're really helping people with medical problems, but also people that might want to deal with anxiety or just to have fun and be more centered and present in their day. So that would be one example. Other examples are beverage companies, because, kombucha came as a trend from Australia. And so people are incorporating that in their line. It's just really interesting. You want to be set up so that you can grow. Coca-Cola is known for their one Coca-Cola, but how many brands do they have? And they have a lot of brands in South America that aren't here, and do better there. And they have different presences in other parts of the world, but it's still able to be under that umbrella.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So I know that you're really big on sustainability too. So for an expanding entrepreneur who doesn't have maybe a packaged product, are there ways that they can be sustainable in their business? Do you have some recommendations for what?
Oh, absolutely.
Business?
Absolutely. And I think having pause after like a long corporate career and then transitioning to, doing this, having my own business with Brandville, is now I can really reach out to people of all types, and their individual needs. And I think, as you state in your book, you kind of have to get yourself set up for growth, right? And I think there's a lot of alignment with branding and growth. I think what you say about self-care even is so critical. And then to have all these systems, I think once you have that branding piece with your tools, you need to know how to get it out there, right? And that's why I love your book so much, is that it kind of takes baby steps to say, hey, I'm running all of these programs, and it's running well. It's not just, I didn't know how to do this. You showed me the way to work with a VA to set this up, and I'm seeing the results from it now. And I think that branding piece falls nicely within that, just to really showcase how you can succeed and grow beyond maybe what your head is telling you. I'm just small right now, but your book really shows that there are steps you can take, and it's important to start with who you are and then really look at everything logically, but with an open heart, to push it forward.
I appreciate you saying that. So we have different kind of viewpoints on sustainability. It's all relevant and important, but for you, for a sustainable business, for like a solopreneur, you mentioned like green hosting, stuff like that. Are there a couple of sustainable tips that you can give our audience if they're a solopreneur and they don't have like a package?
Right. So there's sustainability in like sustainable, everything's stable and running well in business, but there's sustainability in like, you can put power to somebody's purchasing dollars by making sure what you're doing is green for the earth. So a great first step, like you said, is green hosting by greengeeks.com or fatcow.com. These are two, I believe, California-based firms that host, and you can get domains, and they do a little bit more. I think they're starting to expand a little bit, but they are actually carbon negative. So think of how simple it is. You just need a website for your business. Why not help the earth doing that? The reality, if I can go into a little bit of history, is to run the internet, it's on 24/7. There are very high freezing temperature air conditioners blasting onto these servers, these giant servers, or you hear about them being submerged in water to cool them off. They don't stop. The internet doesn't stop.
Right.
But what kind of energy is used? It's on the same amount of energy as the airline industry right now. And it's just going up and up and up if you look at the statistics. So one great way as a business owner, entrepreneur, solopreneur is to start your website hosted in a way that feels good for you. Now, if you want to align your brand with it, that's great too. And you can be an affiliate with them. You can recommend them and you can tell people about it, because I think the thing with sustainability is there are ways to use dollars that you would normally use any other way, but now you can help the earth. So Brandville is starting to dip its toes with vendors that I've worked with for years, but they have already been recycling. So for instance, a perfume set box that you might get at a department store like Bloomingdale's or Macy's, right? Or even Kohl's for that matter. It would have a vac form. It would have a tray for like perfume, hand cream, maybe a body soap or body wash, and that you would give that as a gift. Well, if you went with Midland Packaging, for instance, and they use their box and their inks, they use inks that are more great, still great quality, very premium beauty, but more green, I would say more eco-friendly. And then if you are a designer or a person that works in design and went into their factory to go on a press check or something, you'd see these big giant reams where they ship it it's recycled stuff that they just ship back to the mill that they buy the paper from. So they've got these great relationships already. It's not something that they're publicly advertising because they're functioning fine as is. They're getting clients that they always do from the beauty brands to do, the gift set packages. But it's good to know or work with a vendor, ask questions if you're working with a graphics person, if they know of ways to get green products, because sometimes people will buy these products and they're not going to stop shopping. But if you can educate them and say, hey, you know what, this is forestry certified, or it's vegan, it didn't hurt any animals, it's using this type of ink, it's using this type of adhesive, then you're really making people feel really good. And they're so down from materials to digital, there's ways to be sustainable in terms of sustainability being eco-friendly.
Well, I love it. And I bet most people, I didn't know, before we met, I didn't know a lot about that stuff. So I think that's so important to educate everybody. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
So important. So what has you fired up this year? What are you excited about? What's going on in your business that you want to talk about?
So I would say what's really exciting for me now is always art and design, but how its visuals are now incorporated with new technology. So there's packaging, right? That's very old school. People had packaging maybe in the 1800s, kind of become this big thing. We have so many products now, but I'm really excited about Pantone industry standard color trends that comes in fashion as well as design. But then it's also really exciting on, animation, TikTok, just different ways of seeing. There's a wonderful art history book called Different Ways of Seeing. I forget the name of the author right now, but it just reigns true for me. Even before I read that, before there was an internet, and it's just really interesting to see the trends with technology, with business, and how they're embraced, because it changes so often.
Yeah, different ways of seeing, but different ways of expressing, right? Companies can express themselves in all these different ways now.
Yeah. And I would say on a personal level, I'm really excited to say no to things that are not serving me and saying yes as a solopreneur right now to things that are critically important.
So who would you like to call into your business? Who are you looking to work with?
I'm really looking forward to working with anyone that has a vision, is really passionate, sees that they could make some profits in certain ways and wants to just hash it out and create a roadmap for their brand. And I think that's what brand strategy does. And then once you're ready to execute on that, that really supports a really well-designed logo.
Mm-hmm.
So let's face it, you could get a logo done on Fiverr, but if it doesn't have any context, it just kind of feels like dead air. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe you get somebody really great on there, but you need to have some substance, and it's got to have a little bit of you so that you can connect that back to your audience
That's a really
in a real way. Yeah. And it's important to do that because people see things in a matter of seconds. And, just for example, there's over 100 brands of bottled water. I mean, there's so much that we're bombarded with every day that you really have to tell people how unique it is. And some of that uniqueness really comes from you.
So true.
I'm excited to work with passionate people, whether their businesses are large or small.
Yeah, great. So what's your number one tip you'd want to give our audience of expanding entrepreneurs to help them on their path? Do you have like a number one tip, something they should know?
Yeah.
Something that they should absolutely know?
Yeah, I think there's two things. One, first, pay attention to the details and trust your gut. If you are in a graphic journey with someone and the logo's not in the right direction, just speak up. Don't waste any time. This is like your future here. And if they're a good creative, they will ask really smart questions to get it on the right track. So don't lose heart. Just pay attention to the details, trust your gut. And then secondly, be clear on your expectations and what you're wanting. Even be clear on your expectations of where you could shift your opinion in the future, and understand how much it takes to do things creatively. Ask the branding person or creative person, let's look at a real timeline and see if it works for me.
Those sound really important. Yeah, you keep going in and out of
Sorry.
and light. That's okay. We can first hear you. So what is the best way for people to get a hold of you if they want to work with Brandville?
Yeah, so you can just contact me via my website or email address, ecobrandville.co, or hrg.brandville@gmail.com.
Nice. Anything else you want to add, Heather, before I open it up? I'm going to see if anybody is there that wants to ask you a question, but anything that you want to add before we open it up to questions?
Just that you got to read Lisi's book because it sets the stage, it dispels the myths, it tells you what you should be doing. And if you're not there yet, keep listening in because it's going to get you to where you need to be.
I love it. We did not plan that. Thank you, Heather.
You asked and I answered.
All right. I'm going to unlock these boxes down here and see if anybody's here that wants to ask a question.
Okay.
I actually don't see anybody over in the panel, but I thought I'd give it a minute just to see.
Yeah.
There was somebody here. There was somebody there. But, all right.
Sorry,
no takers.
So
no takers. Everybody's too shy. Okay. Thank you, Heather, for being with us today. You can hang on there.
Thank you so much. Yeah. It's been really fun.
Such valuable information that you shared. I think that people and you offer a free consultation too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can get that on my website or you can contact me. There's several ways to contact me on the website.
Yeah. And you produce some beautiful work. Your work is just amazing. So I'm glad that we were able to connect.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Hey, if you want to hang out, I'm just going to close up, or you can go, whatever's more comfortable for you. I'm just going to introduce Gina for next week. Okay. Thank you so much, Heather, for being here. And thank you for the listeners for being at the Expanding Entrepreneur podcast. That was Heather Gonzales, founder of Brandville. She's got 20 years of brand strategy experience, and she's amazing. She does amazing work. So check her out. Next week, we will have Gina Steinbeck. She's got 20 years of experience in marketing strategy and copywriting. And she'll be sharing her wisdom regarding social media marketing and probably a bunch of other little tidbits of helpful information. So don't miss Gina next week. I don't know the day yet. We haven't finalized that, but we'll be putting that out there as soon as we know. So thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next time on The Expanding Entrepreneur.